During the 1920s, archaeologists excavated sites along the banks of the Indus Valley to discover the existence of one of the earliest civilizations about 5,000 years ago, along with Egypt and Mesopotamia, called the Indus Valley Civilization. But unlike the other two civilizations, the Indus Valley Civilization was unique for its urban culture and peaceful nature. It had well-established cities that existed as early as the Bronze Age. We find seals, ornaments, and structures as its remains and not weapons, due to which we can conclude its peaceful character. Another name of this civilization is the Harappan culture, named after the first site discovered called Harappa. The extent of the civilization is from Shivaliks in the Himalayas in the north to the Arabian Sea in the south, and from Makaran coast of Baluchistan in the west to Meerut in the northeast. The extent of the Harappan civilization was larger than that of Egypt and Mesopotamia. Nearly 2,800 Harappan sites have been identified so far. They are divided into early, mature, and later phases of the Harappan culture. Two of the most important cities, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro in Sindh of Pakistan, are a part of the mature phase of this culture. While Harappa is the first city that was discovered, Mohenjo-daro was the largest city of the civilization. Other cities of the mature phase are Chanudaro in Sindh, Lothal in Gujarat, Kalibangan in Rajasthan, Banawali in Haryana, and the later phase of Harappan civilization is traceable to Rangpur and Rojdi in Gujarat. In addition, the sites of Rakhigari in Haryana and Dholavira in Gujarat were present during all three phases. However, the civilization disappeared suddenly. What might have caused this decline? How did they plan their towns and what was their occupation? What do the seals and figurines tell us? What were the religious practices and administration of the Harappan culture? To get answers, do keep watching this video till the end. But before that, please do check out the description below to find the Revision Channel blogspot for more such interesting information. The area around the Indus River was quite fertile. It had a good amount of rainfall and natural vegetation, and it supplied timber for baked bricks. However, over a period of time, the natural vegetation was destroyed due to increasing agricultural practices, overgrazing, and supply of fuel. Every civilization on Earth has always thrived near river valleys. This is mainly due to the availability of resources such as water, raw materials, and fertile land, which helps in cultivating it. Before the discovery of agriculture, people used to go in search of food and shelter, hence people could only look for their survival needs. Now, after the advent of agriculture, people stayed in one place for longer periods, got their food and shelter at one place, hence they could focus on other activities such as crafts, building towns, etc., leading to better living standards. The main crops Indus people grew were wheat and barley among others. Wooden plows and stone sickles were found at these sites, suggesting that these were probably the tools they used for harvesting. Garbabans enclosed in dams was used to store water in parts of Baluchistan and Afghanistan. Irrigation was probably not practiced in the Harappan culture. Walls made of burnt bricks was found in Harappan region, which suggests that people probably protected themselves from floods and that floods might have been an annual event in the region. Food grains were stored in huge granaries, especially in Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. Indus people were the earliest people to produce cotton. In all, the food grains were grown in floodplains of Harappan villages and was sufficient not only for the village inhabitants but also for the town people. Hence, it was a surplus production in the region. Apart from practicing agriculture, animals too were raised on large scale, such as goats, buffaloes, sheep, bulls, etc., and were domesticated. The Indus Valley Civilization is known for its systematic town planning. These cities had two parts as seen in Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. The upper part consisted of a citadel which was possibly occupied by members of the ruling class, and below the citadel was a lower town with bricked houses inhabited by the common people. Some places also show the existence of a middle town which could have been for bureaucrats and middle-class merchants. An exceptional feature of the Harappan planning is the arrangement of houses in the cities. It followed a grid system with roads cutting across one another at right angles. The Harappan drainage system too was a remarkable one. Almost every house, large or small, had its own courtyard and bathroom. Some had its own well too. Water flowed from the houses to the streets which had drains, and these drains were covered with bricks or stone slabs. Perhaps no other civilization of that period paid so much attention to health and cleanliness as Harappans did. The Harappan cities were also known for its granaries and public places. The largest building in Mohenjo-daro is a granary, and it is believed that people stored their food grains in such places. The Great Bath located at Mohenjo-daro is one of the most important public places of the Harappan civilization. It was situated in a citadel, indicating that it was probably used by the ruling class. It comprised of a tank made of bricks. It had a staircase at either ends and side rooms for changing clothes. Water was drawn from a large well in an adjacent room, and an outlet from the corner of the bath led to drain. The Great Bath was probably used for ritual bathing for a religious ceremony. These monuments or structures built in these cities, such as the Great Bath, granaries, etc., suggests that probably the ruling class had the ability to mobilize labor and collect taxes. The huge brick constructions were a means of impressing upon the common people the prestige and influence of their rulers. Apart from agriculture and building structures, the Harappans were also known for their crafts, trade, and commerce. Some of the crafts of the period were copper tools, wool, cotton, boat making, pottery, ornaments, seal, and terracotta figurines. Seals made by the Harappans is one of the most important sources of information. About 2,000 seals have been found, and these seals carry short inscriptions with pictures of one-horned animals like the unicorn, the buffalo, tigers, rhinoceros, goats, elephants, antelopes, and crocodiles. They probably served as a symbol of authority for stamping and as amulets. One famous seal is the Pashupati seal, which has a figure of a seated man surrounded by animals. Some historians claim that this is one of the earliest depictions of the Hindu god Shiva. Another unique art of the Harappan culture is the terracotta figurines. These figurines were made of fire-baked earthen clay called terracotta. They consisted of various animals, men, and women figures. These were either used as toys or objects of worship. The women figurines outnumbered that of men figures, which suggests that women were probably respected in their culture. However, compared to the skills of making seals and images, terracotta figurines were not as developed, which probably indicates that seals and images were used by upper classes and terracotta figurines were used by the common people. The much talked about craft of that period is the statue of the dancing girl and the figure of a priest king. The first one is a sculpture of a girl in a dance pose, and the second one is probably a broken or an incomplete statue of a neatly bearded man with a fillet around his head and hair combed back. The cloth wrapped around him had a beautiful floral design. All these suggest that he might have represented a priest or a powerful person, though it is highly speculative. There are evidences of Harappans indulging in trade and commerce. Harappan seals have been found in places outside of the Harappan cultures such as Rajasthan, Afghanistan, Iran, and Central Asia, suggesting that Harappans traded with these places. Apart from this, they have also been found in Mesopotamia, while Mesopotamian cosmetics were found in Harappan places. Harappan cities did not have necessary raw materials to produce goods. Probably barter system was used to procure raw materials in exchange for finished goods. Moreover, there are regulated weights and measures that have been found that suggests trade and commerce to have taken place. The uniformity in the Harappan civilization suggests that there would have been a central authority. The citadel where the ruling class probably lived may have been the seat of the sovereign power. The middle town, which was meant for bureaucrats and middle-class merchants, may have been the seat of the government, and the lower town was meant for the common people. This segregation of town tells us that the society was divided. Social differentiation is also found in the differing number of rooms, varying from 1 to 12. Two-room houses probably meant for artisans and laborers. It appears that taxes were collected as food grains, and the great granary of Mohenjo-daro might have been the treasury. Furthermore, the Harappan cities were fortified. Dholavira in particular had forts within fort. However, there is no clear idea of a standing army, nor did they have many weapons. Only a heap of sling stones were found. This suggests that Harappan rulers were more concerned with trade and commerce rather than war and conquests. Probably this civilization was ruled by a class of merchants. Numerous terracotta figurines of women found in Harappa tells us that women were respected in the society. However, it is not clear if Harappans were a matriarchal society. Similar terracotta figurines were also found in different places, which probably suggests that they were worshipped. In one figurine, a plant is shown growing out of the embryo of a woman. This probably represents the goddess of earth. The Vedic texts too have also shown respect to goddess Earth. Another instance is that Pashupati seal too has resemblance of Lord Shiva. Amulets too have been found in large numbers. The Atharva Veda that contains charms and spells of the non-Aryan tradition mentions that amulets were used against evil forces and diseases. Probably even the Harappans believed in ghosts and evil forces. Gods were not placed in temples like that in Egyptian and Mesopotamian culture, but gods worshipped were in the form of trees, animals, and human beings, and religious practices were similar to that of Hinduism. The Harappan script has not been deciphered yet. Hence, we do not know anything about the Harappan contribution to literature, nor can we say anything about their ideas and beliefs. There are nearly 4,000 specimens of Harappan writing on stone seals and other objects. From these, about 400 pictographs have been found. Pictographs is a script in form of pictures. Harappans did not write long inscriptions, and most of the inscriptions were recorded on seals and contain only a few words. The history and mystery of Indus Valley Civilization will become clearer, and all missing links would be found once the script is deciphered. The Indus Valley Civilization is said to have disappeared suddenly, but how it disappeared is speculative. The Harappan culture existed between 2500 and 1500 BC. Throughout this period, there was no change in the way of living, town planning, tools making, etc. Stagnation in the culture could have contributed to this decline. Furthermore, two cities, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, disappeared over time. The Harappan culture gradually shifted from urban cities to village settlements. The trade between Harappans and Mesopotamia had to pass through Elam. However, Elam emerged as a powerful state around 2000 BC, which could have interrupted the trade between Harappans and Mesopotamia. This could have deprived craftsmen of their livelihood, and there is a high probability that such people shifted to agriculture and moved to villages. Environmental factors too could have been another reason for the collapse of the Harappan civilization. The Yamuna and Sutlej river moved away from Saraswati or Hakra rivers at around 1700 BC. This meant loss of water supply. There was also a decline in the amount of rainfall over a period of time. Some historians also believe that a dam in the Indus Valley led to a massive flood in Mohenjo-daro, which may have resulted in the end of that city. Overuse of land due to excessive agriculture and overgrazing could also be one of the reasons. This may have resulted in soil exhaustion and a reduced cereal production, which could have in turn led to starvation and thus the decline. In all, we see evidences of depletion of resources. Moreover, during the 1700 and 1500 BC, there was a slow percolation of new people into the Indus region. These new people may have come from Iran and Central Asia. There are evidences of increased violence in the region, and hoards of jewelry and skulls buried suggest this. New types of axes, daggers, knives with mid-ribs and flat tanks were found in the upper level of Mohenjo-daro. Traces of new people have also been found in cemetery in later phases of Harappa. It seems like some foreign intrusion must have taken place. Although Rigvedic people settled in the Indo-Gangetic region where Harappan civilization had once existed, there is no archaeological evidence of any mass-scale confrontation between the Harappans and Indo-Aryans. Hence, probably it could also be suggested that the Harappan people got mixed up with the Indo-Aryans of the region. Although we have seen similarities between Harappan and Vedic cultures in the form of religious practices, Pashupati seal, etc., there are differences between both those cultures. Planned towns, crafts, commerce, and large structures of burnt bricks, which were identity of Harappan culture, does not find mention in the Rig Veda. The early Vedic people lived on cattle rearing and agriculture. They did not use bricks. The Harappan and Vedic people were not aware of exactly the same plants and animals. The Rig Veda mentions only of barley, but Harappans knew about wheat, sesamum and peas also. Rhinoceros, which was known to the Harappans, was not known to the early Vedic people. While the Vedic culture was a horse-centered one, Harappans did not know about the horse. The Harappan script, which has not been deciphered so far, is different from that of the Vedic script. However, we know for a fact that the Harappan script was written from right to left and the Vedic script is written from left to right. We have no clear idea about the language spoken by the Harappans, but the Indo-Aryan languages spoken by the Vedic people continues to exist in various forms in South Asia. It appears that after the end of the urban Harappan culture in 1900 BC, there was some give and take between the Indo-Aryans and post-urban Harappan culture. The Munda and Proto-Dravidian languages attributed to the Harappans continued. However, for the mysteries of the Indus Valley civilizations to be solved, we need to decipher its script and find the links between the several discontinuities. Before concluding this video, please do check out the link in the description below directing you to the revision channel blog post for more such interesting information. Also, make sure to like and share this video if you found it useful, and in case you have comments, do post them below in the comment section. And yes, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching the Revision channel.